much indeed. Hello, I'm Alexander Armstrong, and welcome to Alexander Armstrong's Big Ask. This is the show where my guests attempt to stump each other with their breadth of knowledge, their extraordinary erudition, and stuff they once read on the back of a Shreddies box. I want my guests to ask questions and to answer them too. So in this show, I can guarantee you will learn things which will help you to lead a better life, like the fact that the Titanic had 36,000 apples on board, so survivors could amuse themselves, bobbing for them while they waited to be picked up. When Einstein died, his brain was chopped into small pieces and handed out to leading pathologists. Great resource for scientific research, but some of the worst canapes in history. So now, when I see the billing for tonight's show, it makes me think of my dream dinner party. Bradley Wiggins, Joan Rivers and Keith Richards. Sadly, their invitations got lost in the post, and instead they went to Jack Whitehall, Andrew Maxwell and Phil Jupitus. It's another very manly show, this one, isn't it? It's like we all belong to some austere gentleman's club that has a very lax line in facial hair.
Well, some of us look like we belong to an austere gentleman's club, and some of us look like we're off to a Tesco Metro to buy condoms and white lightning.
Jack, I heard if you weren't a comedian, you wanted to be a wrestler.
Oh, yeah, I love wrestling.
Do you really?
It's such... There was a laugh there, OK. It is a legitimate sport, and a brilliant one at that.
You'd make quite a fetching wrestler, I think.
Yes, because I would try and intimidate people by playing tricks with their mind, sort of, like, psych them out before the thing, so it would all be a little bit weird. Like, instead of coming on to, like, heavy rock music, like most of the wrestlers come on to, I'd be walking out to Michael Bublé, and they were like, why is he coming out to Bublé? And what's his name? The Penetrator. This is weird.
I've met a very famous wrestler.
Who?
I've met Jake the Snake.
Really? Where?
No.
Yes, for a while he was living in St Albans.
Yes? Anything else you got to tell us about where you lived? Well, you met Jake the Snake, and all you can tell us is
Well,
he
he
lived
was,
in St
I'll tell you what, he was a wrestler. His whole thing was being a redneck. He had a mullet and a big tash. And
Sort of similar to me, but I'd be Jack the Adder rather than Jake the Snake.
Yeah, Phil, what would you be if you were a wrestler?
Lord Delfont or the Gentleman.
He's a gentleman pugilist.
I would be known for my stovepipe hat and sherry before every bout.
Oh, yes. I think you should be called the Thunderbolt.
Why?
In lieu of the fact your name is Jupitus, named after the Roman god, Jupiter, who was obviously the god of the skies and thunder.
That's very good. I could go with the gas giant if we're going down the Jupiter. Don't make him angry, you'll see his red spot.
OK, well, it is now time for round one.
Oh.
I have chosen a category for each of you, and I will ask you each to come up with a question. No one manages to answer your question, you score 10 points. Somebody manages to answer it, they score 5. Is that clear?
Yeah,
Yep. Yes.
Phil, your topic is killer lines. Killer lines.
Yes. Now, there's a line I'm going to say to you here, which is from a play.
Right.
I'm going to read it from a card to you. And here we go with the line, which is... Don't know the manners of good society, eh? Well, I guess I know enough to turn you inside and out, oh gal, you sock-dologizing old man-trap. Why is that one of the most lethal lines in history?
You sock-dologizing
old man-trap.
OK, gentlemen, your pads will wait.
Pads.
There you go.
Here we go.
So, why was that the most lethal line in the history of comedy? Jack and Andrew. I'm going to come to you first, Jack.
My guess, really, is that it would be delivered by a man who I think is just sort of the pinnacle of any stage actor, and he's brilliant and a comedy inspiration, so I assume it is a line from the mouth of Christopher Biggins.
I went on safari once with Christopher Biggins.
Oh,
Yes,
my God.
did you know?
What did you and Biggins get up to?
I bet you didn't see any wildlife. Where are the lions? I can't see any lions, Andrew. Can you see any lions?
Well, myself and Christopher Biggins and another sort of about 20 American tourists, we witnessed... this is God's honest truth. We witnessed an elephant have non-consensual sex with a rhino. And it was
Really?
only really me and the Biggins
Wow.
really found it funny. The Americans were horrified by nature. Whereas I thought it was still grey on grey.
Now then, Andrew, what's your answer?
Well, it struck me as quite old-fashioned English. So I'm thinking that it was possibly the last line said on stage in London before the outbreak of the Great Fire of London.
Sounds very plausible.
No, both of our chaps are wrong.
Are wrong.
Yes.
What is in fact the answer?
The line was said in the play Our American Cousin. It was the laugh line spoken, chosen by John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of Abraham Lincoln.
Of course.
He chose that moment to shoot Lincoln because it's the biggest laugh in the play.
Oh, wow.
And it would cover him shooting Lincoln.
And he wanted Lincoln to die with a smile on his face.
Basically,
It's nice.
it's a very pleasing thought that the last thing going through Lincoln's mind just before some lead was... Boom.
We have a picture of the scene. Interesting, the assassination took place on Good Friday.
Symbolic.
Good for some.
A lot of people must die in the theatre, though, because a lot of old people go to the
I tell
theatre.
you what.
I went to Guildford the other day to watch a play, and I got in trouble because I tweeted a picture of at the back of everyone's heads, and underneath it put 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, fantastic. Phil, your question was, how was that sockdologizing line the most lethal in the history of comedy? And it was, of course, used to mask John Wilkes Booth's slightly less hilarious gunshot. So, very well done, Phil, for your excellent question. Nobody knew the answer to it. 10 points for you. 10 points. Very well done indeed. Now then, Jack, it is going to be your question next, and I have given you the subject of saints and sinners. Interestingly, the sinner in that photo is actually the one in white, because he's standing on a red route. So, Jack, what is your question going to be on the subject of saints and sinners for Andrew and Phil to answer?
Andrew and Phil, my question to you is, why was it strange that the 3rd century patron saint of Paris was such a chatterbox?
Why was it strange that the 3rd century patron saint of Paris was such a chatterbox? Well, listen, you've got your pads. Get your pads. Get padding.
Get padding.
Of course, there's no point praying to the patron saint of Paris. The answer's always the same.
Light my cigarette, I'll do a miracle. Huh?
You'd make an excellent Frenchie, Andrew. You look remarkably like a Frenchie, just when you did that, just then.
It's really weird you should say that, because it's both a compliment and an intense insult.
No, it's a compliment.
No, when I go to France, French people just speak French to me. They look at my big nose, my shady little eyes, and my weird hair, and they go, "That's one of us, huh? This guy doesn't raise his children."
OK. So then, Phil, why was it strange that the 3rd century patron saint of Paris was such a chatterbox?
Well, it's quite simple, I think, as we all know. He was raised by wolves. Which were common in France at the time Jack's speaking of. Wolves rampaging through the sewers of Paris like enormous rats with bigger teeth. He fell into a toilet as a baby and was raised by a pack of wolves.
Which made him a chatterbox, naturally enough.
No, he wasn't a chatterbox. I thought that was the question. He wasn't a chatterbox, he was a howler box, because he was raised by the wolves.
OK, Andrew.
I believe that St. Denis was medieval Europe's first ever cokehead. Yeah? Do you see me ring the bells? I can ring the bells. Oh, this cathedral is all mine. I can do it. You know what I mean? I'm patron saint around here. What a big noise in the abbey. Do you know what I mean?
Jack.
I'm afraid neither of those answers are correct.
What?!
There were no wolves involved. The reason he was such a chatterbox, and the reason it was so strange, is because Saint-Denis had his head chopped off, but miraculously was able to still preach with his detached head on his 7-mile journey to Montmartre, where he was buried.
We have a picture, I believe, of Saint-Denis here.
I like those angels either side of him. Look how embarrassed they look to be in his company. Get it the fuck away from me.
Saints that lost their heads are known as cephalophores. This is Saint-Denis, who is the patron saint of Paris. He was beheaded on the highest hill in Paris back in the 3rd century after his head was separated from his neck. He picked it up and did a 10-kilometre walk, preaching a sermon the entire way.
Good man.
So listen, I think we need a bit of help with these saintly matters, and it just so happens that a friend of mine is very knowledgeable on all of this, and I happen to have him on my favourites, so I'm going to call him up right now. It's the Reverend Richard Coles. Can you hear me? There he is. Hooray now. So, listen, Richard, you've established that these saints that lost their heads are called cephalophores.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about them.
Oh, well, Saint-Denis is the sort of prince of cephalophores, but there were loads of them. There are at least 150 in the sort of French tradition alone. And what distinguished them, cephalophore just means someone who carries their head. So they were beheaded. Some of them did spectacular things. Saint-Denis preached a sermon. One of them sang Kumbaya, my lord. And another one, St. Eustace of Beauvais, picked up his head and walked home to his mother and gave her a kiss.
Oh, that's nice. I like a severed head story with a sweet ending there.
Do you have a favourite saint, Richard?
Oh, so many. I think St. Joseph Cupertino, he's one of my favourites. He was known as the Gaper when he was a boy because he was so dim-witted. But then he started levitating. And once, famously, he stooped to kiss the feet of Pope Urban VIII and then shot up to the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
Good job they didn't have a ceiling fan, or he'd have become a cephalophore as well. OK, well, thank you very much indeed, Richard. It's been lovely to have you on the show. Thank you. Good night. Jack's question was, what was strange about Saint-Denis being a chatterbox? And the answer was, of course, that he'd lost his head. So, very well done, Jack. 10 points to you. Now, finally, we come to you, Andrew. We come to you. And your topic is something that we used to have in this country, but is now extinct. No, it's not the bookshop or good manners. I'll be honest, they've already come up today in the Parisian sewers. It's wolves! Wolves.
Yeah.
Le loup. So, Andrew, yes, Wolf, what is your question going to be on wolves?
My question is...
Yes.
Prepare yourselves, boys. Why is a wolf's fart so very dangerous? There's not an internet alive will help you, boys.
Phil?
OK, why
wolf
farts
so dangerous?
So dangerous.
Attracts bees. Jack, what have you got?
Well, I know my answer isn't right, so what I thought I'd do is attempt to get some points by showing my working. And what I've done is I've drawn a picture of the wolf doing a fart.
Oh, God! And that's brilliant.
My answer is, in fact, that they taste so good. That's why they're dangerous, because they attract you toward the wolf's bottom and then it slays you. But I drew a picture, so...
It's an excellent drawing of a wolf.
I would like to have a point.
Yep. Yeah. OK. Andrew, is it right? Is it right?
It is a beautiful, beautiful depiction of a wolf in full fart flow. Sadly, it is erroneous to my answer. A wolf fart is a poisonous mushroom. A poisonous mushroom.
Oh, really?
That is shaped like a pear. Lethal, deadly mushroom.
I know nothing.
So the wolf fart, here we go, it looks like this.
There you go.
It is called the Lycoperdon piriform. It's called wolf fart because lyco is Greek for wolf, and perdon is Greek for to break wind. I always wonder why, you know, whoever looked at the first wild animal like a wolf and thought, yeah, bit of selective breeding, a few generations' time, that could be bringing me my pipe and slippers. Yeah. So Andrew asked, how is a wolf's fart dangerous? The answer was, of course, that a wolf's fart is, in fact, poisonous fungus. So superb work there from Andrew. And you've baffled Phil and Jack, so 10 points to Andrew. Very, very well done indeed. Yeah. Listen, we'll be back after the break with more important information, like Leonardo da Vinci invented scissors, which was great news because up to that point, money-off coupons were really difficult to use. See you after the break. Welcome back. Now, Shakespeare said, go to your bosom, knock there, and ask your heart what it doth know. Beautiful poetry, lousy cardiology. So now on to our next round. I have been rummaging in my extensive collection of stuff to inspire me to find a subject for this round, and in the small box marked sports/ornithology, look what I found. Here we go. Now, at first glance, this might look like a common or garden cricket ball, but if you look very, very closely, there appears to be a stuffed sparrow attached to it. So, yes, what's happening here? You wonder, the strangest egg a bird has ever laid. But no, this is the Lord's sparrow. The Lord Sparrow, a sparrow taken out by a delivery from Cambridge bowler Jahangir Khan in 1936. The bird was stuffed and mounted onto the very ball that killed it. Bit grisly for the bird's family, but they're only sparrows, so fuck 'em.
When you brought that out, I thought that was just the Pakistan team gluing birds to balls to enable them to go further. More boundaries.
I don't understand cricket analogies in conversation and how they work, because I'm a big cricket fan, but the way certain phrases are used don't make sense. So, like, if someone dies, you're meant to go, oh, well, he had a good innings. Yet, if someone tells you that someone's died, it's unacceptable to do that.
Anyway, there we are. The topic for this round is, of course, sport. And I would like you all to come up with a question. I will, of course, choose my favourite question. It is that simple. OK. Andrew, what is your question going to be on the subject of sport?
Alexander.
Yes.
If I was to look you in the eyes and
Yes.
offer you a stiff drink
Yeah.
and ask you to diddle for the middle, what would be happening?
Oh, this is naked billiards, right?
Diddle for the middle. OK, Phil, what's your question going to be on a sports-related topic?
Why did fans of the Boston Red Sox have every reason to hate musical theatre up until 2004?
Jack, what's your question going to be?
My question about sport is... transfer fees in football have gone mad. But what was particularly interesting about the transfer of Romanian defender Marius Chiora in 2006?
Right, so diddle for the middle, Boston Red Sox. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with this. Marius Chiora. Marius Chiora. Before we just move on, diddle for the middle. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, it's the start of darts. To diddle for the middle is when the two combatants in the noble game of arrows both go for the bullseye, and the one closest starts the game.
I think Alexander might be confused here. I've had this situation before when someone has talked to me about this darts game. Think of it as mini archery. That's...
Diddling for the middle, as you would for the bullseye in the middle of the target. I've got you, yeah. OK, got you there. OK. The Boston Red Sox, for about a century...
Why do their fans have every reason to hate Broadway musical?
What is the reason for that?
The owner of the Red Sox, Mr. Yorkie, sold Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees in order to finance a musical that his girlfriend was in, because he was also a producer of musicals.
Wow.
And he sold Babe Ruth, who was their best player at Boston, to their biggest rivals, the New York Yankees, thus instigating the curse of the Bambino in the year 1918, lasted through to 2004 when they eventually won the World Series.
And was it a big hit? No, obviously not.
Oh,
no.
I think, actually, that was salt in the wounds because it stiffed. I think it closed after about 3 weeks.
So fans never forgave them for that?
No.
Oh, that's a good fact.
Well, yeah, but it's the Babe going. But, yeah, it was to pay for
it's a brilliant question. I'm sorry
Imagine
we
doing
didn't do
that now. If you were like Alex Ferguson came out and said, I've decided I'm selling Wayne Rooney. For footballing reasons? No. I want to revive Cats.
I've always loved the musical Cats. It's the only thing that really cheers me up, just watching Cats.
No, but yeah, I mean, you say that, but did you know that he's a huge French cinema enthusiast? He loves Jacques Tati. Alex Ferguson.
Jesse.
Oh, yeah, Jeux de Fête is a classic of the genre. The thing is, it's football games. I mean, they're very much like shows, aren't they? There's all the energy and the passion. And there's an interval, isn't there?
Can't get the little ice creams, though. As much as I've asked, you get really frowned upon if you go to the football and ask for a mini tub of Haagen-Dazs.
OK, now, Jack's question is the one we are interested in, and the question was this. What was really special about Romanian defender Marius Chiora's transfer in 2006?
Amazing about his transfer.
Isn't it weird that with football transfers, like, the way that it's gone... If you had £1 million, if you were a millionaire, you in the old days you could have bought a whole football club. Yeah. And now £1 million, that wouldn't even get you like a good player. You'd have to get like £1 million, you could afford to buy, like, Emil Heskey. You could get, like, one player for what you could buy a club for. Which I still think would be worth it if you could just buy Emil Heskey. Just to have him round the house.
So, Phil, what is the answer? He was dead.
Yeah, I figure that maybe he had some kind of very, very good insurance policy that the owner of the other club knew about that would only come to fruition after a certain amount of time. They bought a dead player.
And he was stuffed and mounted and put on the ball like this.
I know many people that if you actually stuffed and mounted people in a figure X and put them in a goal would be better goalkeepers than actual moving ones. You could get the crowd to just hold a pole. Like a Subbuteo goalkeeper. Just have a dead guy.
I don't think there's enough of that in football, sabotaging, with people that buy clubs. Because, you know, they always buy clubs and they try and make them great. Or, like, I love this club and I want to make them great. That's a very hard thing to do. It's a lot easier to screw up a team. I'm an Arsenal fan. If I had loads of money, I would buy Tottenham and deliberately fuck them up.
So, Andrew, I'm going to push on. What's your answer?
I'm going with my first instinct, that is something to do with prison. My other instinct was a leprosy colony.
It's very hard to get away with a handball if you've got leprosy.
Mind you, doesn't matter how hard the tackle is, you're not going to feel it.
I'm really uncomfortable with hearing you use the word tackle and leprosy in the same sentence. His tallywhacker's been kicked completely out of the stadium. That John Thomas has landed in the North End and that fan does not look happy. That is something he was not expecting in his Bovril.
Sadly, Romania is the only country in the European Union that still has dreaded leprosy. Yes, Hansen's disease. Still rife in rural Romania.
You're so wise. I was so excited about doing this show with Andrew because he knows more facts than everyone in this room put together. No, he told me Neil Buchanan from Art Attack is in a band called Marseille. I didn't know that shit until Maxwell dropped that bomb on me.
Wow, what about that?
The fact bomber.
So then, Jack, are either of these right? Leprosy,
not.
Promising.
The correct answer, which I believe is quite fascinating, is that he was sold for 15 kilograms of pork sausages.
Wow. 15 kilograms of pork sausages.
That's got to kill you. Not even your own weight.
They were the really nice ones, though. You know, the ones you get, like, Waitrose with, like, sage in them and shit.
Yeah. Here is a picture of the man in question. There is Chiara. At the time, Chiara claimed a German team would have paid considerably more for him than 15 kilos of sausages. I suspect that's a load of porkies. But Chiara retired the next day. Why did he retire the next day? He just...
Because he got so much abuse.
Oh, sausage taunts.
Sausage taunts.
When will FIFA clamp down on this porkist nonsense? Yeah, no, he ran off to Spain to work on a farm, where they paid him in a commodity even more ridiculous than bangers, the euro. In 1999, Fulham paid Russell Olympic 30 tracksuits for that night.
He's only worth about 20.
That's just such a great name. We need to talk about that night. What are you saying, that night was a mistake? In 1928, Manchester paid Stockport a freezer full of ice cream for Hugh McClenaghan.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. But bear in mind, in 1928, ice cream was a delicacy, and a freezer was like the Hadron Collider. Manchester United Alex Ferguson once used 15 kilos of sausage meat to secure Wayne Rooney back inside his cage. So, anyway, there we are. Listen, a fantastic question from Jack, which was, of course, the transfer fees in football have gone mad, but what was really special about the Romanian defender Marius Chiara's transfer in 2006, it was...
Sausages.
Sausages. There you go. Anyway, brilliant. I'll give you 10 points for that. Fantastic. Nobody got it. Very well done. So, on to the next round now. I've got a list of top celebrities for you, and I want from you questions you've always wanted to ask them, but were always prevented by your various restraining orders. OK, so let's start with Spookman du jour, Darren Brown.
You can do these weird stuff. Why didn't you call yourself, like, Brainiac or the Great Mesmo or something? Because Darren Brown sounds like a night manager of a Tesco Metro.
Darren Brown. You can do 1,000 tricks. You can change people's lives, but not out.
OK, next, here's posh Premier David Cameron.
He looks like he's just smelt a wolf fart.
David Cameron, remember what your father said to you? Some blondes are dumb. Some other blondes are just pretending to be dumb so they can have your job.
Here is lovely Cheryl. Ah.
Cheryl, are you in that photo actually screaming, or is there someone else screaming and you're just miming to it? I felt very sorry for poor little Cheryl when they didn't like her in America because of her voice, and they said they couldn't understand her because of her Geordie accent. And I thought it was really tough because it's a completely different dialect. Like America and Geordie, there's completely different words. Like in America, they say sidewalk. In Newcastle, they say path. Or like in America, when it comes to sexual contraceptives, they use rubbers, whereas in Newcastle, they don't.
OK, next up, we have rich computer man Mark Zuckerberg. There he is.
How can someone that invented the poke look like he's never poked anything in his life?
Why the hoodies?
He's a successful... He should be dressing like you are dressed this evening. Sartorial elegance in its finest form.
Yeah.
He looks like he should be at home doing things into a sock.
Scary chanteurs Jessie J.
I'm just going to stay quiet till she goes away.
Couple of questions. One, who is the Irishman on The Voice? I'm yet to work that out, but please let me know anytime soon. Tom Jones's chair, does that also go up flights of stairs? I would ask her that.
And finally, elderly mop-top Paul McCartney.
It's not really a question, Sir Paul, but could you please stop going, ooh? It's not the 60s, you're a fucking billionaire.
Could you stop singing Hey Jude at the Olympics? Because I think I speak for us all when I say we don't want to hear that. We want to hear a bit more Emily Sandé. She was not on nearly enough at the Olympics.
What I love about Paul McCartney is, you know the game Snog, Marry, Avoid?
Yes.
That's exactly what he did with Heather Mills in order.
OK, well, thank you all very, very much indeed. I deem the winner of that round to be Jack. Very well done. Superb. All of which means, Jack Whitehall, that you are, in fact, the winner of tonight's show. So, very well done. Thank you. Tonight, from my overstuffed awards shelf, I've decided to give away my Junior Wildlife Proficiency Trophy from 1979. It's a cigar lighter made from a stuffed kangaroo's paw. Times have changed. Anyway, there we are. So, yeah,
I've actually already got one of those. It's quite...
Well, that's awkward. Anyway, there we are. There we are. Fantastic. Very well done indeed. Well, thank you to all my friends for joining me this evening, and I will leave you with... I will leave you with this. The elephant is the only mammal that can't jump, which, to put it in the language of evolutionary physiology, is why it's so freaking fat. Good night! Armstrong, and welcome to Alexander Armstrong's Big Ask. This is the show where my guests attempt to stump each other with their breadth of knowledge, their extraordinary erudition, and stuff they once read on the back of a Shreddies box. I want my guests to ask questions and to answer them too. So in this show, I can guarantee you will learn things which will help you to live a better life, like the fact that the Titanic had 36,000 apples on board, so survivors could amuse themselves, bobbing for them while they waited to be picked up. When Einstein died, his brain was chopped into small pieces and handed out to leading pathologists. Great resource for scientific research, but some of the worst canapes in history. So now, when I see the billing for tonight's show, it makes me think of my dream dinner party. Bradley Wiggins, Joan Rivers and Keith Richards. Sadly, their invitations got lost in the post, and instead they went to Jack Whitehall, Andrew Maxwell and Phil Jupitus. It's another very manly show, this one, isn't it? It's like we all belong to some austere gentleman's club that has a very lax line in facial hair.
Well, some of us look like we belong to an austere gentleman's club, and some of us look like we're off to a Tesco Metro to buy condoms and white lightning.
Jack, I heard that if you weren't a comedian, you wanted to be a wrestler.
Oh, yeah, I love wrestling.
Do you really?
It's such... There was a laugh there, OK. It is a legitimate sport, and a brilliant one at that.
You'd make quite a fetching wrestler, I think.
Yes, because I would try and intimidate people by playing tricks with their mind, to sort of, like, psych them out before the thing, so it would all be a little bit weird. Like, instead of coming onto, like, heavy rock music, like most of the wrestlers come onto, I'd be walking out to Michael Bublé, and they were like, why is he coming out to Bublé? And what's his name? The Penetrator. This is weird.
I've met a very famous wrestler.
Who?
I've met Jake the Snake.
Really? Where? No.
Yes, for a while he was living in St Albans.
Yes? Anything else you got to tell us about where you lived? Well, you met Jake the Snake, and all you can tell us is he lived in St
I'll tell you what, he was a wrestler. His whole thing was being a redneck. He had a mullet and a big tash. And
Sort of similar to me, but I'd be Jack the Adder rather than Jake the Snake.
Yeah, Phil, what would you be if you were a wrestler?
Lord Delfont or the Gentleman.
He's a gentleman pugilist.
I would be known for my stovepipe hat and sherry before every bout.
Oh, yes. I think you should be called the Thunderbolt.
Why?
In lieu of the fact your name is Jupitus, named after the Roman god, Jupiter, who was obviously the god of the skies and thunder.
That's very good. I could go with the gas giant if we're going down the Jupiter. Don't make him angry, you'll see his red spot.
OK, well, it is now time for round one.
Oh.
I have chosen a category for each of you, and I will ask you each to come up with a question. No one manages to answer your question, you score 10 points. Somebody manages to answer it, they score 5. Is that clear?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yes.
Phil, your topic is killer lines. Killer lines.
Yes. Now, there's a line I'm going to say to you here, which is from a play.
Right.
I'm going to read it from a card to you. And here we go with the line, which is... Don't know the manners of good society, eh? Well, I guess I know enough to turn you inside and out, oh gal, you sockdologizing old man-trap. Why is that one of the most lethal lines in history?
You sockdologizing
old man-trap.
OK, gentlemen, your pads of weight.
Pads.
There you go.
Here we go.
So, why was that the most lethal line in the history of comedy? Jack and Andrew. I'm going to come to you first, Jack.
My guess, really, is that it would be delivered by a man who I think is just sort of the pinnacle of any stage actor, and he's brilliant and a comedy inspiration, so I assume it is a line from the mouth of Christopher Biggins.
I went on safari once with Christopher Biggins.
Oh,
Yes,
my God.
Go on.
What did you and Biggins get up to?
I bet you didn't see any wildlife. Where are the lions? I can't see any lions, Andrew. Can you see any lions?
Well, myself and Christopher Biggins and another sort of about 20 American tourists, we witnessed... this is God's honest truth. We witnessed an elephant have non-consensual sex with a rhino. And it was only really me and the Biggins really found it funny. The Americans were horrified by nature. Whereas I thought it was still grey on grey.
Now then, Andrew, what's your... What's your answer?
Well, it struck me as quite old-fashioned English. So I'm thinking that it was possibly the last line said on stage in London before the outbreak of the Great Fire of London.
Sounds very plausible.
No, both of our chaps are wrong.
Are wrong.
Yes.
What is in fact the answer?
The line